Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon to get the latest updates.
There are some really important and interesting developments in Pakistan that need our attention. I will try and decipher those for you. Everything is complicated, everything is fascinating. At the same time, I know that the story at the top of our minds these days is the return of coronavirus. The second wave, if anything, looks worse than the first one. So as we had done during the first wave, every now and then we will dedicate one section, if not the entire episode of Cut the Clutter, to the coronavirus situation, and I might talk about some of that today, also in an opinionated manner, but just for a couple of minutes, so bear with me. So first of all, what's happening in Pakistan? Now, if you follow anything on Pakistan, even if you follow any social media handles from Pakistan, and if you look at the diminishing foreign pages in our newspapers, in any case our newspapers are thin these days because of the pandemic, but even otherwise for many years foreign pages have been declining in our newspaper. So in the odd newspaper that might still have a dedicated foreign page, you might have seen small items on protests in Pakistan. But if you follow Pakistan at all, even cursorily, you know, you will see pictures of these hundreds of thousands of people, what looks like hundreds of thousands, maybe it's tens of thousands, but it's a lot of people who can count a crowd, particularly when the crowd is animated and is pushing ahead, catching hold of police officers, beating them up, beating two to death in fact in public, pulling them off their motorbikes, pulling them off their vehicles, stopping ambulances carrying oxygen for COVID-19 victims, because Pakistan also has a bad second wave, and in the process also catching hold of policemen and army men and forcing them to shout their slogans. Although some of the videos I have seen, it doesn't look like the soldiers are shouting slogans because they are forced to. And in one of those videos, in fact, we have the Pakistani army, and I'll share a couple of tweets with you where people are commenting on this. And what are these slogans? So I've got some friends of mine who understand Pakistan better, and also friends of mine who understand Urdu better also read these out to me and tell me what these are, and then I have heard them, and these are the slogans. The slogans are like Labbaik, Labbaik, Al Jihad, Al Jihad, and I will explain to you what Labbaik means. Or हम अपने नबी के दीवाने हैं, we are totally devoted to our prophet. Or Rizvi tere janisar beshumar beshumar, that Rizvi, people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for you, are limitless. If some are caught, some are killed, more come in, but they are limitless. Beshumar, beshumar, they cannot be counted. There are so many of them. Now these slogans have been shouted, and as I told you, in many cases policemen have been forced to shout these. In some cases looks like they are shouting these voluntarily. In at least one of the videos, it looks like these are Pakistani army soldiers also. Now we had talked about this organization, Tehreek-e-Labbaik-e-Pakistan, that is TLP. We had talked about this in a national interest in November, I think, when its founder, that is Allama Khadim Rizvi. Allama means a great Ponchela, very scholarly person. Iqbal, the poet Iqbal, was called Allama Iqbal. So he had died, and he died at the age of 54, apparently of COVID, because he'd been exposing himself in a big dharna that they held at Islamabad at that point, demanding that the French ambassador be sent back. Pakistan commit officially not to post an ambassador to France, and do all kinds of other things to France, including at one point, Khadim Rizvi said, dropping all of Pakistan's nuclear bombs on top of France so it ceases to exist. That, you might have guessed, was in the context of the Samuel Paty killing by a Chechen immigrant teenage Muslim boy for allegedly displaying the Prophet's cartoons from Charlie Hebdo to his students. Now that protest took place then, and that is when that crowd was trying to storm the French embassy. It led to a lot of trouble. Pakistan government made peace with him. All kinds of promises were made, including the promise that the French ambassador will be sent back. Now that promise was made, but that promise wasn't kept, because these promises are never made to be kept, because they can agree to fire their own minister or they can agree to withdraw their own ambassador, but to tell the French to take their ambassador back, it's a P5 country, it's a big power, and Pakistan has many dependencies on France. Remember, Pakistan's best submarines are of French origin. Pakistan's Air Force still flies a bunch of squadrons of Mirage variants, Mirage 3s and Mirage 5s. Pakistan still has a lot of French missiles. So besides other things, and besides the fact that France is a very important country, Pakistan has these dependencies, so they cannot just throw the French out because of something that happened, because of the position the French government took on what was popularly seen as an insult to the Holy Prophet in France. In fact, Imran Khan himself had publicly spoken against it. He criticized the French government. Now, after that, another deal was done, and it was said that, okay, so what do you do when you can't keep your promises? You give a deadline. Then you think tab tak kuch na kuch ho jayega, something will happen by then, so you wait. Something doesn't happen by then what do? Then you give a next deadline. So that final deadline was April 20. Second round of negotiations went Tehreek-e-Labbaik. So as soon as Khadim Rizvi died, his son, whose name is Hafiz Saad Rizvi, he took over. Now he's young, daddy was only 54. He's young, and he, if anything, is much more fiery, much more militant than the father. In fact, it's well known in Pakistan, as I read up on Pakistan, which I often do, that the father often used to say, even in public, that I keep counseling my son, that he's too militant, he has to calm down. So this young fellow came, and he now wanted to carry this forward, because Tehreek-e-Labbaik in Pakistan is also a rising political force. There was a time until a few years ago when it counted for nothing. Then in the last national election, it featured at number 5 in the country. Number 5 in Pakistan is a lot, because number 1 in this case, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, that is Imran Khan's party. Number 2, PML Nawaz, that is Nawaz Sharif's party. Number 3, PPP, Bhutto Family's party, Pakistan People's Party. Then you would say that MQM and the rest are there. But there is also an Islamic party, that is MMA, Muttahida Majlis-e-Amal. This one finished number 5 after Muttahida Majlis-e-Amal. It got 4% of the vote. Now 4% you might think is nothing, but 4% is a lot in Pakistan. Also, when you have three-way contests, then 4% can make a difference between victory and defeat. If you see the margins by which PML Nawaz lost in Punjab, if you add to that the number of votes that Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan got, then you would find the gap between them and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf nationally would narrow greatly. So the more conservative voters of PML Nawaz, that is Nawaz Sharif's party, walked over to Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan. So this party now has political ambitions as well. But why is it on the streets now? So at the last negotiations that Pakistan government and this organization had, Pakistan government apparently committed to them that, all right, the resolution that we are sending the French ambassador back will be put up to national parliament on April 20. Now it looked like the government had no intention of doing it. To tell the French ambassador to go when the sword of FATF is also hanging on your heads and all the world is watching your conduct very carefully, and you need all of the world's help, is not the right thing to do. So these guys realized that they had to make noise, and this was the time for them to make noise, because they are in politics. They have to build their own careers in politics, and this is their vehicle or their engine to politics, to more votes, to greater negotiating power, if not their rise to power right now. So this agreement that these terms of the new settlement will be put up to parliament was made on Feb 11. And that is when government realized that they will not be able to keep the promise, and TLP figured that they have to protest. And some protests started, some threats were made, and that is when the current chief of TLP, the young Rizvi, that is Hafiz Saad Rizvi, was arrested by the government. And that led to further trouble all these mobs coming out in the streets in many cities, particularly in Pakistani Punjab. So in many cities, traffic was blocked, highways were blocked, junctions were blocked, and there was quite a bit of mayhem, and nobody wants to mess with them. The police doesn't want to mess with them. The army doesn't want to mess with them. Tehreek-e-Labbaik draws most of its following, in fact a large majority of its following, from the area called Potohar, which is the low-lying land between the Indus and Jhelum rivers. Now that is where a bulk of the Pakistani army comes in. That is the recruitment zone of Pakistani army, and that is where TLP has a strong following. So nobody wanted to take panga with it, but now it got so bad that Pakistan government decided to intervene, and they've intervened today by announcing a ban on this organization. I did not mention this first up in this episode because it hasn't yet happened. What has happened as yet is that the government of Punjab in Pakistan has sent its recommendation to the federal government there to ban this organization. So the Interior Ministry at the federal level, led by one and only Sheikh Rashid, and I will tell you more about him, that has sent a recommendation now to the cabinet for banning TLP, for proscribing TLP. It hasn't yet happened, but this step is taken. Chances are that this will happen because Pakistan is worried. Pakistan is worried because while this is happening, French government has issued a travel advisory to its citizens on traveling to Pakistan. The British government has already listed Pakistan as a country of high concern when it comes to terror financing. The next round of FATF is coming up very soon. So Pakistanis are worried. At the same time, more than 400 French expatriates who are living in Pakistan, they've said that they want to go back because they think their lives are in trouble. That's why the government has had to act. Now, we have to understand a little bit more about Tehreek-e-Labbaik in Pakistan. First of all, what is Labbaik? Now, Labbaik is an Arabic word which apparently comes from the Islamic prayer. And Labbaik essentially means, here I am. The expanded form of the phrase is Labbaik, Abbaik Allahumma Labbaik, which means, here I am, O Allah, here I am, which means I am at your service. Now, in effect, what this translates into is a movement in the service of the Holy Prophet of Allah. That is why you see these people shouting slogans, including the army men, and the slogans are Labbaik, Labbaik, Al-Jihad, Al-Jihad. That for the sake of protecting the Prophet and the glory of Allah, Al-Jihad, Al-Jihad. Now, there are two other expressions that keep coming at you as you read up or as you follow this situation. One is simple and that is easier to understand. That is Namuse Risalat. Namuse Risalat literally means the dignity of the Prophet, which means this is an Islamic state. Everything should be done for the dignity, for enhancing the dignity of Islam, of Allah and the Prophet, and anything that is done to damage this should be punished. The second expression that you read about or you hear about often is Khatme Nabuwat. Khatme Nabuwat means that an acceptance of the fact, a total acceptance of the fact that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the last prophet and nobody after him can claim to be a prophet in any form at all. In fact, if I take you back to how TLP has grown, I will take you back to 4th January 2011 and I will also share with you both the text and the video of the national interest that I had written and I had recorded in November. 4th January 2011, Salman Taseer, then Governor of Punjab, also incidentally the father of author Atish Taseer, he was assassinated by a man called Mumtaz Qadri. Mumtaz Qadri was a constable in his own security detail, so not very different from how Mrs. Gandhi, how Indira Gandhi was assassinated. Mumtaz Qadri assassinated Salman Taseer. Why? He did so because Salman Taseer had gone and spoken kindly to Asia Bibi. Asia Bibi was a Christian woman who had been charged with blasphemy and given a death sentence. So he had shown sympathy with her and also he had said this blasphemy laws should change. in protest against that or angered by that, Mumtaz Qadri shot the man he was supposed to protect. Mumtaz Qadri was a follower of the same branch of Islam that TLP follows, that is the Barelvi, Sufi Barelvi Jamaat. Sufi Barelvi Jamaat, as you can guess, comes from Bareilly in India. It is a conservative Sunni system. It also respects the saints of Islam. That's why it's called Sufi. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is Sufi in the pacifist sense. In fact, in Pakistan right now you find a lot of the violence is coming from this Sufi Barelvi followers. This was founded by a man called Ahmad Raza Khan, born in 1856 in Bareilly, died in 1921, and at this point this has about 20 crore followers in the subcontinent. I would guess that a large number of them are in Pakistan, because if I see the following that TLP has, the number of people it's able to collect, and the kind of passion they have, I can see that this is much stronger there in this form, in this manifestation than elsewhere. We haven't seen this manifestation of the Sufi Barelvis in other parts of the subcontinent as yet. So there is a 2018 Gallup poll that showed that TLP was a rising power, particularly in Pakistan's Punjab. In Pakistan's Punjab, actually, it had become the fourth largest party, just below MMA. But a recent Gallup poll in Pakistan tells you something else. A recent Gallup poll in Pakistan, and Gallup is very popular in Pakistan and very active in Pakistan. A recent Gallup poll in Pakistan tells you that 75 to 80% of the people of Pakistan think that the country is on the wrong path. And if you analyze this, what is the meaning of the wrong path? A lot of them would say that's because it's not on the Islamic path, it should be on the Islamic path. So when that becomes such a strong motivation, then organizations like TLP acquire much bigger power and clout. Now a bunch of things happened after that. Mumtaz Qadri assassinating Salman Taseer. Mumtaz Qadri was arrested, he was sentenced to death, he was hanged. When he was hanged, that is when TLP made its first big political appearance. It laid siege to Islamabad. Its tactics is the same. It lays siege to the big cities. So it did all that in protest. It got a few concessions here and there. Nothing much happened after that. What was done? Mumtaz Qadri was hanged. He's now a hero for these types, for TLP types. He's a hero who took revenge on behalf of the Holy Prophet. Then, second thing happened in this ordinary low-level election in Pakistan. It turned out, and I've talked about this in that earlier national interest, what happened was that the declaration which a Pakistani candidate has to sign while entering an election, a Muslim candidate, non-Muslims in Pakistan contest from minority seats. Non-Muslims do not contest from mainstream seats, and Muslims don't contest from minority seats. So it so happened that one candidate signed his declaration. Now this was a printed declaration. That printed declaration, instead of saying I solemnly affirm that basically that the Prophet is the only Prophet and the last Prophet, it said something like I solemnly believe that the Holy Prophet is the last Prophet. So that a lot of the conservative elements in Pakistan saw as a dilution of that clause. Now why is that clause so important, and why are the conservative elements so sensitive about that clause? That clause is directly linked to the question of whether Ahmadiyas are Muslims or not. And Pakistanis, under the Pakistani constitution and law, they are not Muslims, they are apostates. So if you solemnly accept that principle, that is Khatm-e-Nabuwat, that there can be only one Prophet and Prophet Muhammad was the only Prophet, that means you are not an Ahmadiyya. So TLP launched a very massive agitation saying that this was deliberately done and Khatm-e-Nabuwat was under challenge, and now conservative or real Islam in Pakistan was under challenge. That caused a lot of trouble. Government went down on its knees. That was Shahid Khan Abbasi's government, post Nawaz Sharif. They went down on their knees. They changed that pro forma, but not just that, that also caused then Pakistan Law Minister Zahid Hamid to leave his job. So he lost his job. When that happened, then TLP acquired a big power. People said, these guys have power. And then they again came back. Then they came back when the incidents in Paris happened. So they've had 4 coming so far. This is the 4th. So it is now that Pakistan government has decided to act at this level. Now I will tell you, since we are decluttering, I will tell you a little bit more clutter in this. When that 2017 protest took place, after which the law minister had to leave, then the Pakistani Supreme Court sat on a case that somebody filed about those protests and wrote a very important judgment. A 2-judge bench wrote a judgment. One of these two judges was Qazi Faiz Essa. You might have seen his name in some headlines lately, that is if you see any headlines coming out of Pakistan. But Qazi Faiz Essa was one of the 2 judges, and they actually spoke very strongly against this kind of method of protest which denies other people their freedom of movement, etc., etc. But Qazi Faiz Ahmed Issa, in his order, also said that he saw the complicity of government agencies, particularly intelligence agencies, in this, and he named a general then who is now the chief of ISI, that is Lieutenant General Faiz Hamid. So he named him specifically as the general who was involved in supporting these protests. In fact, at that time, some video has also emerged of Pakistani Rangers handing over 1,000 rupee notes to these protesters. Pakistani 1,000 rupee notes today are about 450 Indian rupees, just for clarity. So he had named this man, and that's how you can see the establishment had gone after Justice Qazi Faiz Issa. Cases of corruption were filed against him. He gave evidence of his innocence and is still fighting those cases. So it's quite evident that in the past, at least, the establishment was involved with them. So these are, for all practical purposes, boys of the establishment and that of the ISI. What has happened right now is, it does look like they've gone out of control. Also, this is a time when Pakistan needs to convince the world that it's really cracking down on terrorism. So it's banned Lashkar-e-Jhangvi, Lashkar-e-Toiba, Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Ahl-e-Sunnat wal Jamaat, that is ASWJ. But all of these then keep morphing and coming up in other names. And that might happen with TLP as well, even if they ban it. But the fact is that in this alphabet soup of dangerous, conservative organizations, one more has now come up, and that is TLP. We don't know whether this will be its name going ahead or not. And now my short bit on the coronavirus situation right now. So government has done well to now permit the use of other vaccines which have been cleared by countries whose medical authorities, regulatory authorities we trust, that is America, Europe, Britain, Japan, etc., and others recognized by the WHO. That means that all vaccines now, including the Russian Sputnik, from Russian Sputnik to Moderna and Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, everything should now be available to people of India. The government now should be doing is, it should allow the import of these vaccines. The government should give up its obsession with price control. It can buy up whatever it wants to buy and sell at the price that it wants to sell. It can also negotiate its own price. But it should let the people, the private sector, which is crucial for this to roll out at a much larger scale, to import these vaccines without any delay, because every day's delay is costing lives.